All right, boys and girls, welcome back to the drive-through for a quiet time version of a relaxed Algebra 1 712. We're getting there. We're almost done. One more lesson and then one more unit. 10 more lessons total. Okay? Well, plus this one. All right, so there's a lot going on here. This is a long passage, so I encourage you to pause the video and read about Carlos and Clarita. They're hustlers, dog. They're the Rick Ross of Algebra 1. And they're starting another new business. Now they're going to be painting logos and mascots on people's driveways. Okay? A curbside logo will require 48 square inches of paint. And a driveway mascot will require 16 square feet of paint. Pay close attention to your units. Okay? Surveys show that the twins can sell 100 mascots at a cost of $20. They will sell 10 fewer mascots for every additional $5 they charge. That's complicated, but it should make sense. That's like saying, hey, I'll cut your yard for 20 bucks. Maybe 100 people would be interested in that. I'm going to cut your yard for $25. Well, only 90 people are going to be interested in that. I'll cut your yard for $30. Well, now only 80 people are. So that does make sense, and we'll get into that. Okay? If a curbside logo was a square, what would its dimensions be? Well, the curbside logo is 48. So they're asking, what would that dimensions be if the area was 48? Well, we could draw a bunch of things and figure that out, but that's what math's for. So how do you find the area of a square? Yep, length times width equals 48. What's it called when we multiply a number by itself? No. What is this thing called? It's called a square. That's why it's called a square. Okay? What's the opposite of squaring something? Square rooting something. So x is the square root of 48. Now, I don't know if this is a part of this lab. It's going to be just underneath 7, right? You better not. Yeah, it's just underneath 7. What is it? Tell me what it is. 6.9282 inches. A lot of times in math, they leave it like this. You could write 48 as the square root of 4 times 12. The square root of 4 is 2. But you could write 12 as 4 times 3. And the square root of 4 is 2. So this is 4 radical 3. I don't think that's going to be a big deal. I won't do that again the rest of the time. For you guys, I'm fine if you work in decimals or just leave it like this for now. Okay? One thing at a time. All right. So a square logo will not fit nicely on a curb, so Carlos and Clear are experimenting with other types of rectangles. I figured we would get in here, okay? They're using software applications that allow them to stretch or shrink their logo to fit different configurations. They like to look at the rectangle, which is 8 inches longer than it is wide. What would the dimensions of the curbside, so we got to do x here. How do we say 8 inches longer? X plus 8. Okay. What do we want this to add up to be? How many square inches? We want it to be 48 square inches. Okay. So how are we going to figure this out? Can you set up the equation for me, Carson? No, just x times what? Equals 48. Now, okay, what do we get on the left side? Excellent. Now, if I wanted to solve this thing, I'd want to subtract 48 from both sides. So you get x squared plus 8x minus 48 equals 0. Okay, now, you could go right to your graphing calculator right now and solve for it. And we'll do that on one of them. But I think this one might be factorable. Looking for two numbers that multiply to be negative 48 and add to be positive 8. And that's x plus 12 times x minus 4. Now, if you had a hard time factoring in that, that makes you normal. You're going to have to figure out a different way to factor it. It could be using your graphing calculator. You might have to guess and check. But what does that mean the answer for x is, Carson? What number do I put in for x that will give me 0? Positive 4. That's one of them, because what's 4 minus 4? And what is 16 times 0? Is 0. So 4 is one of the answers. It's the opposite of whatever's inside of there. So what's the other answer? And negative 12. Now, can we have our dimension be negative 12? So we would rule that out. That's not in the domain. No, it's not in the realistic range. I guess domain. Our answers have to be positive. So here, we would want this to be 4 by 12. Does that make sense? We just plugged in 4 for x. All right. Clarita prefers the logo when it's 13 inches longer than it is wide. So now we'll have a very similar problem here. We're going to go faster. X plus 13, x times x plus 13 equals 48. X squared plus 13x equals 48. X squared plus 13x minus 48 equals 0. I think I could factor this one. It's 16 and 3. But let's show us how we'd use our calculator for this. Okay, let me get the calculator. Okay, so we got our calculator pulled up. This is 13x. It's just a little messy. Now, Carson, you could use the John Rick, but I don't have the John Rick on this one. Okay, so I would do y equals x squared plus 13x minus 48. Okay, I'd graph it. Now, if you don't like the way that graph looks, just zoom out. So now you get to see it's a parabola that's been shifted to the left. Do we care about the negative answer? No, we just want the positive answer. So I'm going to go to my table and see if it's there. There it is. If I put in a 3, I get a 0. Okay? If you were wondering what the other answer was going to be, you'd have to go all the way over to 16, just like we said. Okay? So we know that this would be, well, I'm just going to skip that. We solved it. I'm not even going to factor it. X would equal 3 or negative 16. Negative 16 doesn't work for that. So that means our dimensions would be 3 by 16. You understand? Okay. So in all of our equations, it's going to be x squared plus nx minus 48. Where the n is the value that the person liked. This one liked 8. We had an 8 here. This one liked 13. We had a 13 there. Okay? So I do encourage you really to read this, but I'm going to move on because this is going to be about a 30-minute video if not. All right. Consider Carlos's quadratic equation so far. How can we use it? Describe at least 2 different strategies. I love it. What are the 2 strategies that we've used so far to solve these things? Factor it. Graphing calc. Now let's just, in the graphing calc, we have more. In fact, I think we have 3 ways that we could get it with our graphing calc, right? So one would be y equals, type it in, and then table. Okay, if we didn't use the table, we could use the water bug. You know what the water bug is? Calculate. What would we be calculating there? Zeros. Right? The minimum would be for the vertex. Right? And then another way from our graphing calc would be none other than the world famous John Rick. Is it Jon or John? I think it's Jon. Yeah. Give him the John Rick. Alright. So now consider claritas. Look, we're already done with this. We're just kind of working ahead, because that's what we do, Carson. Hashtag Synovate. Hashtag shout out to Mr. Reardon. Hashtag shout out to Ryan. Alright. After much disagreement, Carlos and Clarita agreed to design the curbside logo to fit in a rectangle that is 6 inches longer than it is wide. What would the dimensions of the curbside logo need to be to fit this type of rectangle? One more time, Carson. You want to do calculator or by hand? Alright, go by hand. So, x times x plus 6 is 48. X squared plus 6x minus 48 equals 0. Thank you. Positive 12 and negative 4. You just out-factored me, dog. That's awesome. Oh, no, they had to be 8. That's not it. I'm thinking this one may not be factorable. So what happens if we can't factor it? We can use our graphing calculator, or what? We could use the quadratic formula. Okay? I'm going to use graphing calculator. Honestly, this is so hard to put in a calculator that you're going to have to put it in a calculator anyways. If we're going to put it in a calculator, why don't we just put it in this calculator? Alright. Y equals x squared. Let's just clear it. Clear the whole thing. X squared plus 6x minus 48. Graph it. I'm going to go back to my Zoom 6. Oh, no, that's pretty good. I'm just going to water bug it, Carson. You're John Ricking it. I'm water bugging it. Calculate the 0. There's my little water bug. I need to get it to the left of the answer, to the left of the 0. Hit enter. I need to get it to the right of the 0. Hit enter. It's saying, would you like for me to take a guess in between these spots? You're darn right I would. And it's 4. So x equals 4.5498. Okay? What are the dimensions of the driveway mascot if it's designed to fit in a rectangle that is 6 feet longer than it is wide? What was the driveway dimensions? Come on. Come on. Oh, no. Feet. All right, look, the driveway was 16 cubic feet. So if I get back to our problem at hand, oops, one too many. All right, so we have x times x plus 6 is 16 feet. Is that right? 16 cubic feet? So it's x squared plus 6x, slow down and you'll go faster, minus 16 equals 0. Two numbers that multiply to be 16 that are 6 apart, that's 8 and 2. It's factoring. Notice that factoring is quicker than your graphing calculator, but quadratic formula is not. So what are our possible answers? Remember to reverse the values, Carson. X is negative 8, or which one of those doesn't make sense in the context of this problem? Throw that one out. So x would be 2. So it would be 2 by 8. Okay? 10 feet longer than it is wide. Well, we're just going to put a 10 right here, right? So we're skipping the picture and we're skipping the first step. x squared plus 10x minus 16 equals 0. Two numbers that multiply to be negative 16 and add to be 12, or 10, excuse me. It's not 8 and 2. No, because, so I think that this is going to have to be John Rick or Graphing Calc. Y equals, clear. If you don't know about John Rick, you better come ask me. Isn't that right, Carson? The nice thing about John Rick, too, is it'll give you the exact answer, where this is a decimal estimation. All right, let's zoom in. So I'm going to go zoom 6, enter, standard window. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Uh-oh. Pause the video. All right, we're back. We're back. Just a little glitch in the matrix there. It's Wabbit season. So, x squared plus 10x minus 16. Okay. Graph it. Okay, there we go. Now this is just the right side of our parabola. I'm not going to zoom out. Our answer is right in here, in between 1 and 2. Okay? So I'm going to go calculate zeros. We're currently at 0, so I need to go a little right. There you are. There's that cute little water bug. Come on, climb that thing. I want to take a guess in between there. Yep. It's going to be 1.40312. X equals 1.40312. So our dimensions should be 1.40312 by 11.40312. If you multiplied these two things together, they would give you 16. I promise. I promise. Okay? So, now you might wonder, like, here's what another math teacher would say. Oh, but you need the exact answer. Those are decimal approximations. Well, if your little computer thing that you have that's making these logos is accurate to the 5th decimal place, no one's going to know. I promise. That's my answer to that. All right, make a sketch, a table, a graph, and write equations for the number of driveway mascots the twin can sell. Okay, remember, so the number of increments, of $5 increments in the price. I don't like that. So that's basically saying if they sell it for how much were they going to charge? 20? If they sell it for 20, they get 100. So this was 25, 30. 35, 40, but this is going to be better for us. So this would be what, 95 here, right? No, 90. We lose 10 for everyone. So this is 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. If they sell it for 100, no, they sell it for 50. If they sell it for $70, 0 people. It's weird. Remember, it started at $20. Okay? Make a table and write the equation. Okay. So we've made a table. We're going to need to sketch a graph. But first, let's come up with an equation. What's our y-intercept? Is this linear or geometric, exponential, quadratic? Linear. What's the slope?
-10.
So what's the equation?
Y equals -10x plus 100.
Excellent. Okay? Make a table, sketch a graph, write an equation for the price of the driveway mascot. Price of the drive for each $5 increment. Okay. I'm confused. So this would be 20 25, right?
Yeah.
And then this would be 30. Price, number of $5 increments, yep. 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. I'm done. That's good enough, okay? What's the y-intercept?
20.
What's the slope?
Positive 5.
What's the equation?
Y equals 5x plus 20.
Minus ViewSonic.
Minus 2 something.
Alright, so now we just got to find a spot to graph these things. Negative 10x. So we've got that, and the other equation we had was y equals negative 10x plus 100. Okay, so let's see. Let's make each one of these things worth 10. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50 here, 50 here, and we'll make each one of these worth, no, I think we just want these to be worth 1. Yeah, that's what I want. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's just worth 1. Trust me on that one, okay? All right, so the red line, the y-intercept is 20. So that's just right here. Every time I go over 1, what's the slope? I go up 5, so that's half. It's going to be here, 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 there. So I got to try to connect those with a red line. All right, the blue one. Where do we start? We start at 100, right? So there's 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. It's right there. Our slope is down over 1, down 10. Maybe could have used the Desmos on this one, huh?
Yeah, probably would have been easier.
All right. Make a table, sketch them on the same. Now, I bet they're going to ask us where they meet. So I think that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe like 5.5, comma 45, but I'm not exactly sure. The revenue they will collect. Revenue equals price times the number of mascots sold. Did I skip something here? Nope. Oh, I get it. So this was $20 times 100 to get 2,000. So if we sold them for $25, they would be 90, right? I need you to bust out a calculator real quick. 2,000? 2,000. All right, so now give me 30 times 70. That's 2,100, right? 30 times 80, that's 2,400. Thank you. So good to have you on my squad, Carson. You're a captain. Okay, how about 40 times 70? No, hold on. 35 times 70. Jeez, oh Pete. 35 times 70. All right, we're climbing. Okay, so then, let's see. It would be 40 times 60. Now we're back to 2,400. Right? I bet the next one is 2,280, but I don't want to get it wrong. 45. 2,250 is what I meant. Do you see the symmetry there? That means this has got to be something quadratic. Okay? This one, that's good. That's all I'm going to do. All right. The twins estimate that the cost of supplies will be $250, and they'd like to make $200 in profit. Therefore, they will need to collect $2,250. Write and solve a quadratic equation that represents collecting 2250. Be sure to clearly show your strategy. So, let's see. What is this? I got to think. So I think this column is X, right? And this column is X times 100 minus, how many customers do we lose for every, so it's 100 minus 10X. Okay? And I think our equation is going to be X times 100 minus 10X has to be greater than or equal to 2,250. Okay? So we're going to have 100x minus 10x squared is greater than or equal to 2250. Okay? So then let's rewrite it. Let's go negative 10x squared plus 100x minus 2250 is greater than or equal to 0. Okay? Write and solve a quadratic equation that represents this. Be sure to show your strategy. So there's going to be more than one point that satisfies this, right? In fact, we know where those points are. It's all of these. Those are our points. Those are the things that will work for us. But since we did such a good job on this video, let me pause it. We're going to go to Desmos. All right, here we are, back to Desmos in the longest video I've ever made in my entire life. It's not an accomplishment. It's something I'm ashamed of. We need to go back to our formula. It is negative 10x squared plus 100x minus 2250. Are we going to remember this? Is greater than or equal to 0. Here we go. So, negative 10x squared plus, right? Plus 100x minus 2250 is, where are the symbols? Is greater than or equal to 0. Graph it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What happened? Uh-oh. Desmos is broke. Okay, as usual, it's a Greg error, not a computer error. Look, that's a minus. That's a plus. That's why we don't see our graph. It's way below. This should be a minus. So let's go back to Desmos and do what? Change this to a minus. Oh, I was hoping that would make magic happen. I don't know why we're not at least seeing a graph. Okay, well, I'm going to clear the video. We're going to take a look at why that might be, but maybe you're figuring out, or maybe it's just a Desmos thing. We got a virus. That's the problem. Uh-oh, somebody is stealing my Desmos graphs. All right, well, here, let me finish up the video, because we know what these are the answers, right? We can either charge 90, 80, 70, 60, no. 90, we can charge 25, 30, 35, 40, or $45. But what are we going to charge? What's going to make us the most amount of money? The vertex. 3. We're going to charge 3. And that's it. Boom!